Welcome back to another episode of the Cherish Each Moment podcast. I am Jimmy Lewis, your host, and this is episode 20. Made it, 20 episodes. Can't believe that. Man, that goes by fast. I know I don't make these very consistently, and I never said I would, but even still, with a non-consistent pattern of putting out episodes, it's crazy to me that we're on episode 20 already. Awesome. I love it. We're going to be recapping my trip to Kentucky a couple weeks ago, the GIE Expo, what I learned, what I saw, updates on the putting green, updates on the John Deere lawnmower. A lot has happened. And I'm going to end with what I'm planning for next season. Yes, I'm planning for next season already, and I'm excited to share all of that with you now. Here we go. All right, where to begin? The first segment, as always, is what is happening around the yard here. What's going on? What's new? And what are some updates? And quite honestly, I am struggling. And as I was planning this episode, I've been struggling where to even start. I really need to find time to make more episodes. I want to make more episodes. There's so much that happens between the episodes. I just need to find more time. I need to plan better. I want to make sure that I'm still keeping the episodes interesting. I don't want to make a podcast just for the sake of making another podcast. I want to make a podcast that's full of good content, good stories, good things. And I want to have good people on here too. I do have some guests in the works for future episodes, so hopefully I can keep this going into the winter months. P.S. On that note, it is November 11th, and I am still mowing. That's crazy to me. Usually by middle to end of October, I am done. I'm done, and we've probably had snow on the ground. But not this year. The grass is still green, and I just mowed the front yard yesterday, November 10th. A year ago, we had snow on the ground. It's just crazy. Crazy. But I do want to keep making more episodes. I want to make them a lot more consistently. I want to make them closer together so I can have shorter episodes, but still get out everything that's going on without having to do a big story dump like this episode is going to be, just catching you up on things and letting you know how things are going. But where to begin? I think the best place to start is at the GIE, my trip to Louisville, Kentucky. This is almost a month ago already. Well, not quite. It's like two and a half weeks ago, give or take. Great trip. Awesome trip. Extremely busy. Very, very busy. This year was a dual-purpose trip for me. I did go for work on behalf of Yard Mastery. I was there with Alan and Brett, and Susie was there, and we just had a really good time. Very constant go. And it was pretty much nonstop for all 3 days. And on top of that, I'm dealing with the jet lag from the flight and a 2-hour time difference. So lots going on, and still well worth it. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot to see. There's frankly too much to see, and I really mean that. I did not see everything at the show. I did not get to see every booth. After the fact, I realized that there were companies there that I didn't even realize they were there. There were companies that were not there that I didn't even realize were not there. because I couldn't see everything. There's just not enough time. And we even had early access into the show through Greene County Fertilizer, being affiliated with them as a vendor. We could get in early, and even getting in early, we still didn't see everything. It's just that big. But gosh, it's a lot of fun. It was really nice to get back out there and to interact with people and see all the new upcoming things in the industry. And there were definitely some trends coming out of the GIE Expo. Definitely some trends. The biggest trend that I noticed, as you could probably guess given the current state of things, was battery-powered equipment. Pretty much every single company that showed up to the GIE had some kind of battery-powered tools or a complete lineup of tools that were battery-powered. Single universal battery, backpack battery, battery-powered zero turns, remote-controlled zero turn, lots of battery-powered stuff. Robotic mowers, we'll talk about those in a minute. But you could name pretty much any tool, and there was a company there that had that tool battery-powered on display. Hand tools, lawnmowers, leaf blowers, zero turns. Toro unveiled an electric grandstand mower, which was pretty neat. Batteries everywhere. I will tell you this quick story, a little bit of irony. The second day was the day that the outdoor exhibits opened, where you can go out and try all these tools and equipment, get your hands on them, and do all that. As I'm walking down the lane between the booths, we walked, I can't remember the company. I'll have to look at the pictures and see if I can make out who it was, but a company that was there, they were demoing their battery tools outside, and they were charging the batteries in the rear of their booth, and we just happened to walk by, and I saw these batteries on these chargers, and the chargers were being powered by a gas-powered generator. I love some good irony. I think that was so funny. I just thought that was great. There were other companies, though, that had battery equipment or robo mowers that needed to charge. They had solar panels, which I thought was interesting too. At least they are, completely walking the walk. But yeah, having gas generators, they probably charge a lot faster than the solar panels. So I can see why they would do that, but I just thought that was pretty interesting, given the fact that there's a lot of discussion going on right now around battery-powered equipment and getting away from gas, especially California, and I'm sure there will be other states that follow in that direction as well. Maybe not as aggressive as California is proposing to be, but it's definitely a topic that's not going away, and me as someone who is interested in the trend and interested in the technology and interested in offering my opinion and demonstrating equipment on my primary YouTube channel, I want to learn as much as I can. I want to kind of understand what's going on, what's happening. So a lot of interesting things, a lot of battery equipment. Companies are definitely trying to get further into the game here and do what they can as the battery technology continues to advance. I'm curious to see how it evolves. It's evolved quite a bit in even the last, I'd say, 5 years. When we first bought this house and we got the lawn in, the first string trimmer that I bought was a battery-powered string trimmer. It was a Black & Decker, and it had a collapsible shaft so that you could have less of a footprint when you stored it in your garage. And I couldn't tell you the voltage on the battery or the amp hours. I just don't remember. I can tell you that I really didn't like the product. I didn't like it at all. It was in budget, which having something is better than having nothing. The shaft was really short. I remember that. But the biggest problem with it that I remembered was this expandable shaft. It was the connection part had these Allen screws, and they would constantly come loose. And it got to the point where they'd get loose enough the connection between the two pieces would break. So I was constantly checking to make sure that connection was tight. And that just got super annoying. It didn't have a lot of power, and I wanted something that had a little more power to it, was going to last longer, and I think I sold that trimmer, and I upgraded, and I got the gas-powered Echo, the PAS 225 that I still have. I'm going to talk more about that later. I have decided to experiment again, 100% string trimmer battery, 100%, pretty much 100% battery hand tools next year. So I'm going to talk more about that later, but I am interested in the battery technology, and I'm going to try and use and test and try out as many different brands tools as I can afford and that are afforded to me by ways of partnerships and things like that. I'm really interested in that. So stay tuned for thoughts. And as of right now, we're going to be looking primarily at Toro products. You can probably have guessed that. And Ego products. So got an Ego product in the mail right now that I ordered the other night. Should be here tomorrow, and we can get maybe some use out of it before the season's over. It's the backyard, I think, is almost done. I took it down a notch, and it's about dormant almost. It's on the way into dormancy now. Took a lot of color out of the backyard when I took it down a notch. So yes, a lot of battery stuff coming down the line, a lot of battery content coming down the line. I think it's going to be important to have that discussion, to talk more about it. People are going to be interested in it. I know you're listening. You're probably interested in it as well to some degree. So going to make sure that that's covered. And I'm excited to try it out. I'm excited to get more involved there and see how it goes. Robomowers. Robomowers were another common sight. Not so much as battery equipment was, but there were a lot more Robomowers this time around than in 2019, the last time I was out there, the last time the GIE Expo was held. This year, there were a lot. And I expect in the future you're going to be seeing more content on YouTube around Robomowers. Maybe not for me, but from others. Husqvarna had a very large presence, and they had something really cool outside. They had this gate, and I'll put a video of it on the screen here for the YouTube viewers. And if you check out my GIE video on the main YouTube channel, you can find a clip of it there as well. But they developed this gate that connects with the mower through Bluetooth. And if you have a separated area that is it's separated from your main yard, you maybe have it fenced off or you have it gated off, you need access to it to mow, but you want it closed off for whatever reason. They've developed a gate that you can install so that when the Robomower decides it's ready to finish the first area, the main area, let's say, and go into the other area beyond the gate, it will maneuver itself towards the gate, and when it's within Bluetooth range, it will send a signal to the gate will unlock, and the mower will push its way through the gate As it exits the gate automatically closes. It's just with gravity. It's on a hinge. And then it will lock. And so anything else like a dog or a child or whatever can't follow it through. So I thought that was pretty nifty. And I think that there's definitely people that have use cases for that. Personally, I don't have a use case for that. I just have one big space. But maybe if I had it set up to mow both my front and my backyard and I wanted it to go through my fence, I could maybe rig something up and install this gate with my fence, and then I wouldn't have to worry about opening the gate in the fence to get it to the front yard or the backyard. So kind of interesting. It's nice to see that companies are thinking about different scenarios and use cases for their customers. So that was pretty neat. Robo-mowers in general, I think, are pretty interesting. I've not really had much interest in them solely because I enjoy mowing my lawn, but I have no doubt, and I know for a fact that there's a lot of people out there that just don't want to do it. They don't like it. It's a chore. If they want to have grass, but they don't want to mow, and maybe they don't want to pay someone to do it. They'd rather invest in a product that can do it whenever they want. They can schedule it whenever they want. It can mow every day if you want. You can control it from your phone. Whatever you want to do. I know there's a market for that, and because of that, I'm interested in learning more. I don't have any plans to get one, but I think as the technology evolves and there's more competition in the market, the prices are going to come down because they are pretty expensive right now. We're talking for even an entry level, you're talking $1,000 or $2,000 for this. And if you want a better one, bigger one, you're talking several $1,000s. So as things continue to progress, the prices are going to come down and it's going to get more competitive. And maybe then in the future, I might try one out. But for now, I have no plans. The biggest surprise from the GIE was Cub Cadet. Cub Cadet had a zero-turn mower that had a traditional steering wheel. And at first sight, you think, well, that's weird. That doesn't really make sense. You're used to, the standard handles that you push forward and backward to turn. And that's anyone who's operated a zero-turn lawnmower understands how that works. The first time you get on it, there's kind of a learning curve. You got to get comfortable with it. How much do you have effort do you put into pushing and pulling, and which way do you offset to go one way and which way do you offset to go another way? But Cub Cadet has decided that they want to offer a zero-turn mower that has a low barrier to entry. They pitched it to me as a mower for someone that wants to maybe take up mowing lawns that has never done zero-turn mowing before. They want something that's familiar, and this is something for them. So I drove it around, and it just felt natural. You turn the wheel, and the mower pivots, and it turns. It's a zero-turn mower. It was really nice. It was pleasantly surprising, to be honest. It definitely takes away the learning curve, and I had a lot of fun riding it. It looks kind of funny just because you don't expect it and you're not used to it, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. So yeah, that was GIE. I had a lot of fun. I obviously, being there for work and for my own personal YouTube purposes, I spent a lot of time. Most of my time was spent with Brett and Alan. But I got to see a lot of my other friends who are in the lawn care YouTube space and spend some time with them. We had a really great meetup. Alan and Yard Mastery put on a creators meetup, and some of the Yard Mastery partners were there as well. We threw axes, And that was a lot of fun. And it was just a great trip. Really, really fun time. And I enjoyed it very much. Moving on, I want to just give a brief update on the putting green and talk about what's going on over there. I did make a mistake with the putting green, and it was just so silly. I was so anxious to get the height down to a 1/2 inch and top dress it with sand before I left for GIE. And I've had some leftover sand from last year, and this is a different kind of sand than the Mason sand that I used to build the putting green. So this leftover sand has just been hanging out underneath the trampoline in the backyard. It's a great storage spot. It's perfect. It's out of the way. It's out of sight, out of mind. It does stay wet, which is probably the worst part of it because it's under the trampoline. The sprinklers go twice a week. But that wasn't the issue that I had. So the problem with this was this sand, like I said, is not the Mason sand that went down on the putting green when I built it. It's a washed beach sand. And the sand itself is really nice. It's very soft. It's very fine. It works. The problem is it being a beach sand, it's not as clean as the Mason sand is. The Mason sand is just so consistent. The beach sand has these little rocks and pebbles in it, and I don't remember there being this many in there from when I did the front yard, from when I sanded the front yard, and even when I did the sand in the backyard last year. I don't remember this much pebbles and little rocks and things. It was bad. And I put it all over the putting green. Oh, it was bad. I was so frustrated with myself. That was just a bad decision. Really bad decision. Looking back, I should have just mowed it and waited until spring. And as far as sand is concerned anymore going forward, I'm waiting until spring. Once the lawn is growing again, I'm going to really, really level it and smooth it out as best I can with Mason sand. Only Mason sand forevermore. No more of this washed beach sand that I've used in the past. It doesn't even compare. So, for quite a little while, probably a couple weeks since I've been back from GIE, even last night when I mowed back there, I still was either pushing the pebbles down into the sand, or I was picking them out and getting rid of them, putting them in a flower bed or something, just getting them out of the way. And I'll admit, I even got so frustrated and so worried about messing up the reel or the bed knife that I took the height back up to 1 inch just so I had more clearance, just in case. But I am happy to say that last night when I mowed, I did muster up the courage to go back down to a 1/2 inch. And I didn't have any issues. I didn't hit anything. No damage done, thankfully. So I am back down to a 1/2 inch, and I am going to continue to step that height down while I can. I think tomorrow and Saturday, I'm going to go down hopefully to like a 1/4 inch. I think a 1/4 inch would be just awesome if I can get down that low. The first time I cut it at a 1/2 inch, there was some scalping, and that's completely expected. The roots aren't as dense, they aren't as deep, and the surface of the putting green is not as smooth as I'd like it to be. There's still a ways to go, but I figure if I can keep cutting it lower and cutting it more consistently, it will continue to fill in. Though it is getting cold, so the growth is much slower than it would be during, say, peak season, peak spring, peak fall. So I just want to do as much as I can. And if I can keep mowing it, if weather permits that I can keep mowing it, I'm going to keep mowing it. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to see if we've got any more rain in the near forecast. and I will put some more fertilizer down. I have been trying to feed it regularly and push the roots and push the growth. And if we don't get rain, I have been using the HoseLink sprinkler, the oscillating sprinkler, and that's worked out perfect. It's the perfect size, and I've just been hooking it up to the house water for a few minutes to water it in or give it some water, and it's been fine. Obviously, the sprinklers are shut off now. I've blown out the lines, shut off the feed, and so I'm stuck with using the house, which is better than nothing, but the water pressure is like half of what I get from the city. So that kind of stinks, but it's, like I said, it's better than nothing. But I'm really happy to be back down at a 1/2 inch and to not really be worrying about rocks and pebbles. As I keep stepping down the height of cut, I'm still going to be worried about that a little bit, but it is what it is, and we'll see how it goes. But with that, I am going to take a quick break and come back and talk about the John Deere mower. There has been some significant progress made with the John Deere, and I am very anxious to update you on what's going on, and we'll be right back with that. All right, so let's update you on the John Deere situation. So I can't remember what I talked about the last time I updated you on it. I should have gone back and looked at my notes. But I did take it into the dealer. There's pros and cons about the dealer. The dealer is maybe 10 minutes away from me, which is super nice. Very, very close. Not a problem. Even closer than the Toro dealer that I took the Time Master to. So, pro there. I took it to the dealer. I told him that I had changed the belts, and I kind of messed things up as I did that, which is just kind of sad. And looking back is kind of like, hindsight is always 20/20. So, obviously, you'll find out that I've learned a lot since then. But I took it to the dealer. Told him I had just changed the belts, told him it wouldn't start, told him it wouldn't go forward. I couldn't push it forward. It was kind of stuck. And told him I wanted to get it running and see if it was worth putting a little more money into so that I could use it. Well, when I dropped it off, they told me that they would be able to look at it within 2 or 3 days because they're not nearly as busy as they had been during the season. So I thought, great, I'll probably have this back pretty quick, or at least have an idea of what they want to do to it and how much it's going to cost me before I get it back. Well, a week went by and I hadn't heard anything, so I decided to give them a call and see what was up. So I call them up, and I told the guy who I was and what I was looking for, and he said, let me go check. And he comes back on the phone and said that it hadn't been looked at yet, but that they were bringing it in now to look at it. So that was a little frustrating for me, and I said, okay. He said, we'll call you back by the end of the day or tomorrow morning. So I said, okay, fine. Well, the end of the day came, no call. And the next morning came, no call. So now I'm kind of frustrated. I want to know what's going on, and I want to know what they're doing. So I call him back, and I said, hey, I'm just kind of trying to figure out what's going on with this lawnmower. was expecting a call back either end of day yesterday or this morning, and I haven't heard from anybody. So what's going on? And the guy transfers me back to the service shop, and I talked to the guy that's working on the mower. And it sounds like that they had just maybe spent a few minutes with it, which is really frustrating because I thought that they were working on it. So he said that they tried to start it and it wouldn't start, which I knew that. They said that they thought that the pull starter needed a little more line on it, so they put a new line on it that was a little longer so they can get more pull out of it. And they couldn't get it started, so that what they wanted to do, he said, what they wanted to do was they wanted to replace the carburetor and see if that would get it running, and then they could go from there to figure out this potential oil leak that I had told them about, because there was a big puddle of oil in my garage. There was oil in my truck when I dropped it off, and I said it was leaking oil. So they wanted to get it started first before they did anything. So he said that they wanted to change the carburetor. I said, well, how much is it going to cost to replace the carburetor? Which I didn't really see why they wanted to do that, but that's what they wanted to do. That's what they told me, so I'm going to go with it. $545 parts and labor to replace the carburetor. And I said, I'm going to think about that, and I hung up the phone. And so I thought about it for a day. I was like, why on earth would they want $545 to replace the carburetor? I'm not paying that. That's not worth it to me. I would rather take $545 and put it into something else. I could put $545 towards a lot of things. So the next day I decided just to go pick it up. I didn't call him. I just went over there. I said, I want to pick up my mower and take it home. I'm not going to pay $545 to replace the carburetor. I said, why does it even cost $545? The guy said the carburetor's $300 alone for the carburetor. It's got just a Honda motor on it. I don't understand. I still don't understand. So I brought it home, and they were nice enough. They didn't charge me anything. I thought I was going to have to pay at least $65 just for them to look at it. But even today, now that I know the outcome of this whole story, I don't even think they looked at it. For those of you that don't know, my parents live right around the corner from me. My dad's very mechanically inclined. He said I could bring it over and he'd want to take a look at it and see if he could help me get it running. And he knows that I've been kind of overwhelmed with this and a little frustrated, and I don't have a whole lot of time. I don't have a whole lot of extra time right now. I've been busy with work and family stuff, and I'm kind of burnt out from the lawn season as well, to be honest. I've taken a little time off from making videos and filming, and I think he kind of felt that, and so he offered to help. And so I took it over last Saturday. I dropped it off in the afternoon. He said he'd look at it the next morning and let me know what he found. And I had bought the manual online from John Deere because John Deere charges you for manuals. I bought it online from John Deere, and I sent it to him so that he could look some stuff up that he wanted to look up and use it to take a look at the mower. So I drop it off Saturday afternoon. He calls me Sunday afternoon. He says, hey, come over here. So I go over there. Sure enough, he had it running. I had no doubt. My only frustration is I wanted to work on it with him. I wanted to film some of it, and just kind of do that. So I'm just going to have him recap what he did for the video and live with that. But he told me that he started with the mower where I guess we could start with the belts. So the belts, when I changed the belts, I did it the hard way. Of course I did it the hard way. And the way I did it was the motor sits on a mount on this bracket mount that connects to the frame, and I disconnected that mount from the frame and kind of leaned the motor off to the side a little bit at an angle, not completely on its side, but at an angle, so that I could more easily remove the belts and put the new ones on, so on. So I put the belts on, reconnected the mount to the frame, and from there I had the issue of not being able to move the mower freely. And what he discovered from reading the manual, and this is the underlying message here, read the manual, understand what's going on. What he found was there's some carriage bolts that connect the mower to the bracket, the actual mount. And when you loosen them just so, you can slide the motor forward and backward on that mount and put tension on the belt. And the way that I had it after I had put the new belts on, there was too much tension on there, so much so that you couldn't move it. So he adjusted it, and now it moves forward. And then he addressed the motor not running. He checked for spark, and there was spark. And he found that there was a mix of fuel and oil in the carburetor bowl. And that, I'm 100% certain, is my fault. And so what he did was he took that off, cleaned it up really good, and we believe now that the excess oil, the leak, and from it getting into the carburetor bowl is from it being overfilled. Whether that was me or whether that was the guys at the shop, I don't know at this point anymore. I'm sure it's a combination of both. It was leaking so much because it was too full, and so it's getting rid of all that excess, and it's going wherever it can go. So cleans out the bowl, and there was some sediment in there as well. He took the air filter off. That was soaked in oil too. That one's probably my fault. And as soon as I showed up, he started it, and it started, I think it was on the first pull. And I went over there yesterday too, and we started it again, and it started on the first pull. And the nice thing too is it's actually it's idling on low throttle too, which when I picked it up from John, he told me that in order to have it idle, it had to be pretty much full throttle for it to idle. It wouldn't idle on low throttle, but now it does. So that was an improvement too. So really, really thankful for my dad, living so close and being willing to help, and for taking the time to do that. We do still have some cleanup on it to do. It's still covered in oil, and it needs a good clean. We want to clean it up really good and just double check that it's really not leaking from somewhere. So, learned a lot through this already. Obviously, like I said, I don't have a lot of time. I also don't have a lot of knowledge of how these small engines work, though I'm learning quite a bit here, and I just need to have a little more confidence in myself too, I think. But I'm really glad to have that taken care of. It does run now. It does start. And it moves freely when you want it to. When you want to push it, and it will go. What's left is that the bed knife needs to be replaced. The reel needs to be sharpened. So I am probably going to take it in to do that. But I want to talk about the biggest thing that I learned here. Getting overwhelmed with something, because obviously the problems with this mower were adding up pretty quick. You have a leak, you can't push it. It won't start. I've already replaced the belt. I've already replaced one of the handles, and I don't have a lot of time. It's just sitting in a puddle of oil in my garage. The dealer's not helping me. It's just frustrating. When you get overwhelmed like that, being overwhelmed isn't the best way to solve a series of problems like that. But it's hard for me not to be overwhelmed when I'm told that I have to potentially pay $545 for a new part that might not solve my problems. So again, I'm glad that my dad came to the rescue here and took some time to help me out. I also learned that no matter what you want to work on, if you don't have access to the owner's manual, get the owner's manual, take some time to look through it. If you get it in PDFs now, you can search them pretty easy for whatever topic or whatever area of the machine that you're trying to work on. Understand the basics of how it works and how to work on it. So as far as what's next, like I said, we're going to just finish cleaning it up. I need to get it sharpened. I do have a new bed knife that should still be at the dealer. It's probably been sitting there for almost a month now. The new bed knife and the new screws for that I need to pick up and then take all of that to my sharpening place. Same place I take the Greensmaster. They said that they'd put the new bed knife on, sharpen it, and it has to be shaped with the reel. So they're gonna do that, and then the reel one of the blades on the reel needs to be ground down because it is catching on the bed knife. So I need to go take that in, have that done. They're going to ask me what height of cut to set it at. I'm not sure yet. If anything, I can just change it. But I'll probably have them put it wherever I'm at when I mow in the next couple days. Probably tomorrow or Saturday. When I'm stepping it down with the Toro, I'll probably just have them put it wherever I leave off and then go from there. But that is the update on the John Deere. So we're making progress. It is running, and it just needs to be sharpened. It needs a new bed knife, and we should be in business. So that will be nice to have, especially for next season. It's going to see some action. I'm still interested in other mowers, though. I've had some opportunities to get other reel mowers. If I still have room in my budget to add something else, it would be nice to have a mower to use in the backyard compared to the front yard, especially if I'm going at different heights. Obviously, the putting green is going to be very, very low cut. The fringe or I can't remember it now. It's getting late. The area around the green. Why can't I think of the collar? The collar is going to be cut around an inch, maybe even 3/4 of an inch. I haven't decided yet. I want a mower for that. And then I think I'm toying around with the idea of working on the backyard and mowing it lower back there. And in some areas, maybe just like a tee box area for chipping. I need something to mow that. I might just use the Greensmaster because I'll just do it at an inch. So need to just kind of organize myself, and if the budget allows, then I'm gonna have a mower for the putting green. I'm gonna have a mower for the collar, and then I'll have the Greensmaster for the front yard. So that would be ideal. So we'll see what happens. That's just kind of what I'm thinking right now, and we'll go from there. So as far as what's coming up next, I am winding down. The season is winding down. We're getting lower temperatures. The high today was 50 degrees. We're getting into the mid to low 30s at night. And we're getting occasional rain showers. We've got just under a half an inch the other day. And we had around 1/10 of an inch or so this morning. So we're getting decent rain. We're getting good rain. The grass is still green. Most lawns still have a lot of green color in them. Like I said, I did take the backyard down a notch. So I'm mowing the backyard on setting E on the Time Master right now, which is just under 2 inches. And doing that took a lot of color out of the lawn. So there's a lot of yellowing, and I should have taken the time to clean out the mower deck and sharpen the blades, but I was like, it's the end of the season. I'm going to be doing it soon anyways. I'm not going to do it now and have to do it again. So I played the lazy card, and because of that dull blade and a lot of buildup, there was a lot of struggling getting around. So I double cut it. I side discharged the first time, bagged the second time. It did take a lot of color out of the backyard, which makes me really sad. But it is what it is. It'll be green again next year. But yeah, shaping up for a good season next season already. There's things happening. There's things going on, planning wise. Like I said, I'm planning on going fully electric with pretty much all handheld devices next year. The backpack blower doesn't count. I'm going to keep the backpack blower in service and use that to clear off my front yard occasionally. Handheld leaf blower. I've got the Toro handheld leaf blower. I've got pretty much the entire 60-volt line from Toro. And a couple of new items showed up there to kind of fill out my collection. And excited to try those out. So I've got the handheld leaf blower. I've got the stick edger. And I've got hedge trimmers. I've got a chainsaw, a pole saw, and I've got the power shovel for the snow. As far as string trimmer goes, I do have the Toro string trimmer, and I've used that, and it's okay. The one that I've ordered the Ego string trimmer with the carbon fiber shaft, and that should be here tomorrow. So that's my plan. My go-tos are going to be the handheld leaf blower from Toro for just all-purpose leaf blowing, not heavy duty. Heavy duty is going to be the backpack, which won't be very often. String trimmer is going to be Ego. That'll get used mostly in the backyard. I've got the Milwaukee setup with the rotary scissors. And then the stick edger will be the Toro. And then hedge trimmers I use maybe 2 or 3 times a year. That will be the Toro as well. So that'll be nice. I'm hoping to try out some more electric lawnmowers too and do some content around that and go from there. I want to keep the podcast going through the off season as well and just kind of find some topics to talk about, have some guests on the show, and just kind of mosey through the off season and gear up for next year. The nice thing is the off season should be, fingers crossed, the off season should be shorter, given the fact that our fall has been much longer than it normally is. Like I said, we're almost middle of November, and I'm still outside. I'm still mowing. The front yard is still green. It is starting to yellow, especially on the north side of my house, but for the most part, it's still green. And I love it. So hopefully, ideal circumstance, we've got a longer fall, a shorter winter, early spring. Go time. It'll be great. Lots to look forward to. I'm really quite excited. I can't wait. And I think it'll be nice to have a break at the same time, though. But that's going to go ahead and wrap things up for this episode of the Cherish Each Moment podcast, episode 20, on the record, in the books. Thanks so much for listening. Please remember to cherish those moments. I'll catch you next time.